Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Witches the Moon. I'm your Friday hostess, Natalie, and this week's topic is influential people on our path. So today I'm going to just give a shout out to some of the people who have really made a huge impact on my following this path, my coming to the craft and staying in the craft and finding my own personal empowerment and freedom in the craft. So let me begin with a person whose name I do not know. As bad as that sounds. For those of you that have followed me for a while, you've seen my personal channel, you've seen my other videos in previous seasons on Witches the Moon, you know a little bit about my background. You know that my first introduction to the craft came formally when I was about 11 years old, and I was gifted my first deck of tarot cards by a gypsy who happened to be traveling with a carnival type group that was in my town. And it was weird because it was the one and only time these people ever showed up. We never saw them before or after, so it was kind of odd. I don't know that woman's name, but I do want to tell her how very much I appreciate her input, because that one action, gifting me those cards and telling me that I have a gift, that I should learn to use it, made a huge impact on my life. And although I stayed away from the path for a long time after that, simply because I had to, I was forced to by my mother, and then later in marriage, when you're, yeah, I've talked about it before, but when you are taught that something is evil and bad, and that if you do it, you're going to be an evil and bad person, and you're going to go to hell, it makes a very big impact on you. And so you live in fear. You're afraid to explore what you're being drawn to, because you feel that it's bad or something that's evil or makes you a bad person or something like that. So, it wasn't something I openly practiced and learned more about and began doing until about 3 years ago, when I finally said, you know what, I've always been drawn to this. There must be a reason for this. I've always practiced in some way, kind of without even really admitting it to myself. But it was her and her setting me on that way and showing me that, you weren't necessarily a bad person for using tarot cards and things like that. That some of us are given a gift that is obvious to others. And so learning to use it, I really think she made a big impact on my life. In terms of people who in recent years have really had a major influence on how I practice the craft and my personal brand of religion and spirituality, would be definitely my cousin Sunshine Morning Ray. Those of you that know Trina Lebowski, you may know her as Sunshine Morning Ray. She has a YouTube channel, but she's been off YouTube for a while because I understand she left because of a lot of the drama that was going on and some stuff that was going on with her personally in her personal life. Kind of drew her away. She hadn't had the time to put into doing YouTube videos, but I think some of the drama that was going on between people was getting to her as well, which I understand. But she had a huge impact, because when I saw that she was openly practicing the craft, I had to ask her, if I wanted to learn more about what you're doing, what would you suggest? And she recommended a book that I will talk about in next week's video, because we're going to talk about some of our favorite books next week. So, she introduced me to Raymond Buckland, and Raymond Buckland then had a huge impact on my perception of the craft, what it was, what it really meant, what kind of empowerment it could give to someone, to the individual. And I really liked the fact that he pointed out that witchcraft as a religion is really quite old, although our practices today may not be exactly what they were 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, but things change over time, so it's dynamic anyway. I think all religions change over time in some ways, and that everything is dynamic, because it can't remain the same. As you travel down through time, things change, stories change, perspectives change, history plays a role in that kind of thing. So I never let that bother me too much. I will say, however, that Raymond Buckland really did open my eyes to the fact that energy is all around us. I knew that being a science major. I knew energy was always all around us. The fact that we could harness it as individuals and utilize it to make a better life for ourselves and for those around us was something I had not considered, and other than flipping on a light switch. Thank you, Thomas Edison. And I really think that he opened my eyes to the fact that it's so much more than what I had been taught being raised Christian. I was always taught that witchcraft was evil, you're consorting with the devil, and when I saw that there was no devil in the craft, the big thing that really drove home for me that I really appreciated and locked into, that Raymond Buckland introduced me to about the craft, is the idea that you are personally responsible for your actions. There is not a devil to blame your actions on. You are not tempted by some outside force to do bad things. If you do bad things, it's because you are a person acting in a bad way or you are a bad person. So it forces you to take responsibility for your own actions. And so I really appreciated that, and that made a big impact. And I did have an opportunity to tell him that, for which he responded and seemed very flattered and grateful, and I was grateful to that. The other person that has had a big influence on me as a practitioner in the craft was Tequila Aguayo. She really made a big impact on me, because another thing that Trina told me to look into was Witches of the Moon. Lo and behold, 3 years later, here I sit as a host myself and kind of fronting the channel. It was kind of left to me to front the channel. So she really made a big impact. And one of the things that I've always admired about Tequila is that Tequila keeps her channel focused on the craft. She doesn't get involved in a lot of the hubbub politics and BS and drama that goes on between people. She talks about ways to implement the craft, how to practice the craft, what you can do. She shows you things that you can utilize as tools in your arsenal for bettering your life and the life of those around you. And I really appreciated that about her more than anything. I think that had a big influence, because I think when you remain focused on your own personal spirituality, all the drama that's going on with other people really becomes ineffectual, and it's a barrier to you. So Tequila really had a big influence. She's kind of out there. She's in your face. She doesn't hide who she is. She's very proud of being pagan. She's very proud of being a witch, and she doesn't hide it from people. When people ask her, "Are you a witch?" She tells them yes. And it doesn't affect her job. It doesn't affect her people. It doesn't affect, her family, that much. I mean, there's always going to be somebody out there that's got something negative to say. But that's true with anything. So people just look to be ugly. But she's always been very honest and blunt and to the front, and she's very knowledgeable. She was raised in the craft to an extent, so she knows her craft. I mean, she knows her shit, people. She's great. And she's effective. And I really always appreciated that. And she had a very big influence on me as a practitioner. Erin Eastep had a big influence on me, because she's the one that kind of gave me a leadership role in Witches of the Moon initially, and then kind of left it to me. Dave the Bard, believe it or not, for those of you that are not familiar with Dave the Bard, it's D-A-M-H, the Bard, but it's pronounced Dave, and his real name happens to be Dave, which is kind of funny. But Dave is a musician, and his music really had a big influence on me. Music is a big, important thing to me. I've always had 3 things in my life: trees and animals. Well, 4 things. It's the Spanish Inquisition. 4 things. Trees, animals, books, and music. That was my life as a child. That's all I had. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, but I always had books, trees, animals, and music. And his music to me is a really effective way of getting myself out there and exploring the craft and seeing it from a new perspective and expressing myself. And that led me to go into Druidry, which, right here, folks, all my wish. So he had a big influence, because he really kind of guided me towards Druidry in terms of incorporating aspects of Druidry into my path. It's not considered, Druidry doesn't consider itself a religion specifically, but it has had a big influence on my path. They see it more as a lifestyle than a religion. I see it as part of my religion. So, other people who've had a huge influence on me would be Scott Cunningham and some of the early writers, because he's the one that actually was my way into naturalistic healing and things like that. And in that way, there's another person that has been an influence on me, and I don't think they even know they're an influence. He's not in any way associated with the witchy community. In fact, I believe he's Christian, but he is a doctor of naturopathy here in Dallas, Fort Worth. His name is Anthony Wallace, and Dr. Wallace has really helped support a lot of my questioning about using herbs and natural healing as a way to heal the body and to improve my own overall health and the health of my family. So he had an impact on my path as well. Uh, Other people obviously would be the other hosts on Witches of the Moon and my fellow people that are in my groups, people like Houston Howman, Rhiannon Dream Dancer, Ori's Oasis, Dia. She's been a big influence. Quentin's been a big influence. All of you, I learned something from. Jennifer Hodgson has been a big influence for me too, believe it or not. I know she's probably going to go, oh, what, me? Yes, you, girl. You have encouraged me and supported me through my entire path by asking your questions, by encouraging me to continue with the YouTube channels, to explore myself more openly and to put that out there. Part of the reason I started doing YouTube videos was because I felt like I was learning so much from the people I was seeing on YouTube that I also wanted to share. I'm a teacher at heart and by nature. I love to pass what I know to others, and I love to learn from others. And I think by doing things like this and having forums like this, we learn so much from each other. I learn so much from the comments I see on the videos that to me it's very important. So I really appreciated all of the feedback that I've gotten. And Jennifer has been a forerunner. She was in the first year in a day group that we did on Facebook with Timothy Roderick. She's been in the second year group, and she was one of the more active participants in that group along with myself. Some of the other people were pretty active at the beginning and then sort of dropped off, and some people chimed in periodically, which is okay because everybody has to learn at their own pace. But I was hoping for a little more interaction, and I think that just this year has been a bad year. So I'm thinking of redoing that group again next year and seeing how that goes. But I want to take a little break before we get into that. So that has been, Jennifer, you have been a really big influence in helping me to continue and being encouraged in this. Another person, Nadia Ramanov, had a big influence on my path. She, I think, puts out some really good high quality videos in terms of some of the topics that she brings up and talks about, that she offers some thought-provoking kinds of questions that really kind of make you think about our roles in society, how we're affected by society impact, and that sort of thing. But the person that I wanted to save for the last person that I will mention in this video, simply because I'm stumped on time. I mean, honestly, there are so many people I could not name everybody who's had some sort of an influence, because everybody that I've come into contact with has had some sort of influence on my path, whether it was witchy specifically or not witchy. Anybody that has encouraged me to be myself, that doesn't judge me, and even those that do, because I think my husband's had a big influence on my path as well, simply because he has been lukewarm and sort of bipolar in his support, which has only confirmed my foot on this path more, because the more he tries to fight against it and he brings up things against it, the more it allows me to think in an apologetic manner. Thank you, Catholic Church. In thinking apologetically speaking, and that doesn't mean like I'm making an apology for saying, oh, I'm so sorry. Apologists in the Catholic Church don't walk around going, I'm sorry, I'm Catholic. They go around defending the Catholic faith. They are the ones who go out and argue why Catholicism is the right path of Christianity, and so on and so forth. So for those of you that want to take that term literally, that's not how it's meant. As an apologist, you are a defender of the faith. So thank King Henry VIII. No, I just said, sorry. So his manner and his speaking, in a way, kind of forwards my path as well, because all it does is confirm. It allows me and forces me to be able to defend my positions and think more logically and do more research and put it out there so that I can quote sources and page numbers and this and that. And not just witchy, but scientifically also. I'm a scientist. I think like a scientist. I have a master's of science degree. So I think in terms of process and exploration, observation, experimentation, and confirmation. So in that manner, this really kind of allows me to argue better with him in terms of defending and being an apologist for witchcraft. It's kind of odd. So anyhow, The last person that I want to mention in this video that really has a big influence on my path has been Timothy Roderick. Timothy Roderick has played a huge role in how I see the craft. And although he is Wiccan, and he wrote Wicca a Year in a Day, and then Wicca another year in a day, the Orange and Blue books that are part of the Facebook groups that I've been in for the past couple of years, I have really appreciated his input. I don't consider myself a Wiccan. I consider myself eclectic, but I do draw from Wicca in my path. And I think that a lot of his meditations and teachings that he's brought forth in the books have really helped me to better understand the craft and to better understand the spiritual side of things, and to take, especially in the second year book, you take more of a shamanistic approach to things. And so you're kind of doing some of these meditations that are a bit guided, that cause you to look deeper and deeper and deeper within yourself, that the answers may not be totally readily available to you, but it causes you to focus and to understand that you're not just you. We don't live in a vacuum, and it's not just the little microcosm of our families, that we affect the entire world. Our actions ripple out and impact everyone else around us, which then impacts everyone around them, and it goes out and out and out and out. And in that way, we can affect change within our communities, within the world. And I think he's really kind of opened my eyes to some of that, and also to a better understanding of our relationship with the God and Goddess, and how we are them and they are us, and that whole, kind of entwined lemniscate type of relationship that we have has really had a deep impact on my personal spirituality. And some of the other things, like the insight timer for the meditation, has really allowed me to really make meditation a daily part of my life, or an almost daily. I slipped a little over the last 2 days, but I've been very good about doing at least 15 minutes of meditation every day. And having that insight timer really kind of keeps me accountable to that. And Timothy is the one that introduced me to that. But he's also pushed me as a professional, because for those of you that don't know, Timothy has a master's degree in educational psychology, and those are those people that work with kids that have issues in learning disabilities, dyslexia, etc., etc. And so he has allowed me to bounce some ideas off of him in dealing with some of the kids that I work with as a speech pathologist who have dyslexia and other disorders. And so he's done more than just push me on the path. He's pushed me professionally. He's also encouraged me to continue my writing and to do more of my writing. For those of you that don't know, I did write a children's book some years ago, and I've been working to get it published. I was offered a contract, but the mailing costs had to be paid for up front, and my husband could never find the money in our budget to make that happen for me to actually see this book get published. So it was through Timothy's recommendation that I do it through CreateSpace, and I haven't had adequate time to sit down and upload the book into the proper PDF format to upload to that, but I will be. And I already have a second book in the works, and then I was also considering writing a book about my personal spiritual journey and experiences, in the hopes that someone who comes from a similar background, I'm finding there may be more of those people than I thought, might be able to open themselves up to the path that they are being called to, and be given the strength to turn away. Because one of the things that my husband has asked me in the past is, how can you go from being so diehard Catholic to just all of a sudden giving it up and saying that you don't believe any of what you were taught? And it wasn't really an overnight process. The dieheartedness that I think I was feeling as a Christian and a Catholic was more kind of my own bucking against what my logical mind was telling me versus what my heart was telling me, versus what I was told my whole life was right, true, and correct. When you are raised in a Christian faith of any kind, you are taught that Jesus Christ is the only one true way to God, and if you stray from that, you're going to hell, period. You're a bad person. And that's a lot to overcome when you find that you are really not able to accept it. And as I've mentioned in past videos, the whole idea that even Jesus Christ himself said that I will that thou be hot or cold, for if thou art lukewarm, I will spew thee from my mouth. The idea there being that you either have to accept Christianity and all of the tenets that go with that, including its teachings on homosexuality, on male dominance, etc., etc., or you don't accept any of it. And if you can't accept even one of the tenets, then you should not accept any of it. You should pass it up. So I eventually had to admit that what I knew and what I was learning about the Bible and its origins and Christianity and its origins and so on and so forth really didn't jive with what I felt in my heart, and that I couldn't accept some of these tenets. And again, if I couldn't accept some of them, I really shouldn't be claiming to be something that I, in my heart, really wasn't. And so I set myself free from that path, and it was not an overnight thing. And Timothy was one of those people that really kind of helped lead me out of that and give me the courage to pursue what I in my heart felt was right. So to all of you, I offer my thank you, my sincere thank you for allowing me to set myself free and in some way perhaps even influence your paths, because I believe that as human beings, we are interconnected. Our paths, we don't live in a vacuum. We influence one another through our own actions, and what we gain from others. When we take something from someone, we leave something of ourselves with that someone as well. So even if it's brief, and I do not believe in coincidences. If somebody is in your life, they're there for a reason. If you are in their life, you are there for a reason. There must be something that you need from each other, whether it's momentary support, true deep friendship, which I'm always hopeful for. I don't think you can have too many friends, but I'm cautious about who I give that title to, because I think a lot of times people use the term friends and love and respect and honor very loosely. And so I try to really be cautious with my use of those sorts of words, and friendship being one of those for sure. I have a lot of friendly acquaintances. I have very few friends. So but I have a lot of people who have impacted my life that I hope I've made some positive impact on theirs in return. And so to all of those I did not mention specifically, but whom I have regular interactions, all of you have an influence on my path. And for that, I am extremely grateful. So just a few people there. If I left anyone out, I am so sorry. I did not purposely leave anyone out. It's just there are honestly so many people that I could sit here and do this video probably for days. But thank you, thank you, thank you all, and especially to those who I brought up in this video, for having some impact on my path and for helping me along in one way or another. So next week, folks, will be our last official video of the season. We have a topic list for season 7. We will be probably starting season 7 after the Christmas holidays. I would say probably after the 1st of January. At some point, we'll be going into that. And I really do appreciate all of you staying with us as long as you have. And for all of our new subscribers, I hope that you go back and watch some of our previous seasons and get yourself caught up. But we do appreciate you being with us now. There will be a giveaway, obviously. And for those of you that have been diligent in commenting on videos, your names will be entered in the giveaway. Those of you that even comment once or twice, just something to let us know that you're out there so that we can make sure that we get you involved. We do appreciate you all, every single one of you. So we will be doing our giveaway after the conclusion of the season. Probably the following week I will do the giveaway video, and we will get the information and get that out. So thank you so much for watching again. Blessed be.